One of the most important realities in war is to act rationally. In cases where emotions override logic, great defeats or losses can occur. A good commander must know when to attack and when to retreat. The commander should be able to withdraw his troops if necessary. This is the most logical way to succeed. A commander who does not move his troops from their current positions despite being heavily attacked by enemy troops is the biggest reasons for the destruction of his troops. Doing the logical thing may not always make you look superior, because sometimes it is also important to realize that you are not superior. Troops that are aware of their strength and use it effectively are winners in the long run. In the Russia-Ukraine war, it seems that it's time for Russia to retreat. The Russian commander, whose name is frequently heard in recent days, shared a shocking statement that Russian troops should withdraw. In a short time, the statements, which were spoken by many people, spread rapidly. Moscow authorities are not making any statements on this issue, but it seems that Russia's withdrawal is not on Kremlin's agenda for now. Now, if you're ready, let's analyze the latest statements made by Alexander Khodorkovsky, the Russian commander. A Russian commander whose battalion was recently pushed out of Yerokhin in Donetsk region by Ukrainian troops made an incredible appeal to Moscow. Stating that Russian troops cannot win the war, the commander called on Moscow to freeze the war along the existing front lines. Alexander Khodorkovsky, commander of Russian-backed Vostok Battalion, made the remarks days after saying that his forces were suffering losses in their defense of Yerokhin. Stating that they cannot win Ukraine militarily, the commander said that this is not possible now or the near future. Khodorkovsky said that the occupation of Ukrainian cities is not easy and that eventually Russia and Ukraine will be locked in the frontal confrontation. He said that Russia should accept the territories it currently controls instead of continuing the special operation. Neither war nor peace is favorable for Russia in the current reality. The commander said, adding Russia that needs to implement an urgent plan. As you know, the Kremlin uses the terms special military operation to describe the ongoing war. It seems that Russia's special operation cannot go much longer. The Russian commander wants to convey the current situation by making frank confession. The commander, who lost his own troops in the Ukrainian counteroffensive, has fought on the front lines. His words are therefore those of one of the people most familiar with in the situation and the strength of the two armies in the war. Military experts said that Khodorkovsky was reasserting a narrative that has been largely dormant since Wagner Group financier Yevgeny Prigozhin's armed rebellion against the Kremlin on June 24th. One should think twice before commenting on the war in Russia. That's why statements targeting Moscow are rarely made. It turns out that Khodorkovsky's remarks about Russia's inability to defeat Ukrainian military in near terms and the impossibility of Russian forces easily occupying Ukrainian cities are very similar to comments Prigozhin made in an article in April 2023. Prigozhin's article suggested that Russia freeze the war in Ukraine in order to set the conditions for a possible future victory before negotiations. Russian sources claim that Kremlin is working on a commission to freeze the war along the current front lines, but there has been no work or explanations. Military analysis says that a temporary ceasefire in Ukraine would be in Russia's favor. During this time, Russian forces could be rebuilt and Western support for Ukraine could diminish. On the Ukrainian front, there is nothing by victory. The biggest goal seems to be clear to the Ukrainian territory of all occupiers. According to local sources, most of the Russian troops are desperate to flee the war, but they face a big problem. Barrier troops sent by the Kremlin to kill soldiers retreating from the front line are preventing Russian soldiers from leaving the front line. Soldiers who leave the front line are neutralized by barrier troops, causing great anxiety among the Russian troops. Ukraine has been experiencing critical developments in recent days. The last point came for Ukraine in a long-standing F-16 process. According to the statements made by the U.S. officials, the transfer of F-16 teaching materials to Ukraine has been approved for the start of the training program for Ukrainian pilots and the American jets. The approval includes training modules, documents, and classroom trainings materials containing information on sensitive US technology, the official said. Ukrainian pilots will begin training in Denmark in August, the Danish Defense Ministry said in a statement. It added that a coalition of 11 countries will also take part in the training process. The approval of the request for the third-party transfer from Denmark was one of the critical steps before Ukrainian fighter pilots began training to fly the fourth-generation jets that Kiev has been demanding for months. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken sent letters to his counterparts in Denmark and the Netherlands, asserting them that the transfer of the jets would have the full support of the Biden administration and would move quickly once training on advanced aircraft was complete. I have assurances that we will expedite the approval of the necessary third-party transfer request in a timely manner to ensure delivery when training is complete, including the required notification to our Congress, Blinken said in the letters. The commander of the U.S. Air Force in Europe and Africa said the Ukrainian pilots who will learn to fly the F-16 fighter jets are undergoing language training in the United Kingdom, as all the materials and tools on the jet itself are in English before they start flying the training aircraft. An investment training program awaits the Ukrainian pilots. First, language training will be completed in the UK. Then Alpha Jet training will take place in France. French Alpha Jets are known as an advanced training jet. James Hecker stated that the process will take some time and will not be completed before the end of the year. He said that the training process takes some time and that we should wait for the next year to see F-16s in Ukraine. He also said that the Ukrainian pilots participating in the F-16 training program are young pilots who are not involved in the war. Ukrainian troops welcomed these developments with joy. After these trainings, which will provide a great strength to the Ukrainian Air Force, the personnel who will start their duty expressed their excitement. The soldier in the Ukrainian Air Force stated that with the F-16s joining the Ukrainian army, very comprehensive operations can be organized against Russian troops. Stating that the Ukrainian Air Force has achieved great success even with limited means, the soldier said that great successes are expected in the coming period. Do you think the Russian commander's call for a ceasefire will find a response in Moscow? What do you think about Russian commander's call for ceasefire? How do you think the process will proceed in events of the possible ceasefire? Do you think the Ukrainian army will make great breakthrough in their air force after fighter jets training? How do you think the Ukrainian army will organize operations after F-16s training? Do you think it can affect the course of the war? We care about your opinions. Please share them with us.